show you how to decorate a jewelry box for Mom for Mother's Day. First thing we're going to do is, before we get started, you should already have cut some gift wrap paper. I'm using floral gift wrap paper for this particular project. And as you can see, I've cut a circle as well as a strip. And so the strip is going to go around the base of the jewelry box, and the circle will go on top. So let's get started. First, let's do the top. Just take a little bit of Scotch adhesive spray and spray paint the top of the lid. And then we'll take the gift wrap paper that we have cut for the top, place it carefully over. Now, if you have some edges, I actually cut this pretty nicely, but if you have any edges that you want to trim, just take your scissor and trim very lightly around the top. But this one actually came out pretty well. And then we're going to do the same thing with the side. We're going to spray the side. Just start off with just spraying half, and I start at the seam just because I think that's a good place to start. So just carefully take the strip of the gift wrap and very evenly and carefully wrap it around the box. You can smooth it out if you see any wrinkles or bubbles with your fingers. And just continue to spray the adhesive around the box. Again, just continue to smooth it out. Make sure that there's no bubbling. And if there is, the good thing about spray adhesive, if you buy the right one, is that even after you lay the paper onto the surface, sometimes you can lift it up and reposition it without the paper tearing. So it's always very helpful when you're trying to craft. And finish up. When you get to the end, just make sure you fold it over a little bit, give it a little bit of play right here, and then you can cut the extra off. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover the side of the top with lace ribbon, which has already been pre-cut, and we're going to actually use a glue gun for this. So carefully using the glue gun, just put hot glue around the side of the lid, and then taking your ribbon, very carefully position it and secure it down. Just continue to do that. Try to keep it even as possible. Until we get to the end. Also, always be careful with the glue gun because it can get very hot. You don't want to burn yourself while you're crafting. And a little bit more glue since we're at the end. You take your scissors and cut. Okay, so now we've wrapped it and we've put the ribbon around it. We're just going to put one more ribbon embellishment on it. I've already pre-cut a grosgrain pink ribbon. And we're going to put this on the lid. What we're going to do is, starting from the inside, right in the middle, we're going to hot glue this ribbon to the inside of the lid. Okay, make sure that's in there, nice and tight. And now we're going to wrap the ribbon around the top of the lid and attach it the opposite end to the inside of the lid, just like we did on the other side. Okay. So it should look like that inside, and this is on the top. Now we'll securely place it on top of the box. And as a final decoration, we have a very beautiful pink bow that we're going to affix with hot glue right to the top. Make sure you align it to be in the center. And now we will, I'm going to dovetail the ends of the ribbon to give it a finished look. And there you have it. Mother's Day gift box, jewelry box for the mom that I'm sure she will love and enjoy for all of eternity. Paint it. So using some white paint, we're going to take a sponge brush and dip it in the paint. Actually, I'm going to use a bigger cup. You want to get as much paint on this sponge brush as possible, but don't oversaturate it. And then, again, starting at the seam, we're going to spread the paint as evenly and as smoothly as possible. Now, one thing to note here is that you will probably have to do, well, I suggest you do at least 2 coats of paint, particularly because this is white. You don't want to see any of the brown paper showing through. But you can put 3 coats on if you like as well, if you really want a very even coat of white paint across the whole box. And also carefully handle the edges because you don't want to smear paint on the sides or the bottom from your hands. So just be cautious and careful of that. I'm using a bigger brush because it goes on more evenly and quicker. One thing about the sponge brush that I like is that unlike the brushes, the hair brushes, they don't leave the same type of streaking that those brushes tend to leave, and sometimes those brushes even leave the actual hair from the brush and it gets caught up in the paint. It can be problematic. So now we're going to apply our second coat. Also, even though the sponge brush works very well, you may get an occasional bubbling of the paint. So if that happens, just go over it lightly with your brush. It'll come right out. And now we'll do the top. Top, I'm actually going to switch brushes and use a smaller one. You know what, actually I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to use a smaller brush for the edge, and I'll go back to this bigger brush for the top. I think that will work better. Again, careful with the paint that is already on your hands when you're holding it from the inside like I'm doing in order to paint the top, because again, you don't want to get any paint on the inside of the box. Now, if we were covering the inside, it wouldn't be a problem, but for this particular project, I'm just going to keep it simple, and we're just going to paint the outside and decorate the outside and keep the inside neutral. Now, using the smaller brush, I'm going to do the edges, or around the edge of the top. Now, if you do happen to get some paint on the inside, like I just noticed that I did, just go through it using a very small amount of water to try to blot it out. But if you can't, don't worry about it. You also don't want to ruin the paint job, or really the cardboard. You don't want to get it wet. So just a little tip in case it happens. Now I'm going to do a second coat on the top. Nice even strokes. And again, if you find that it's bubbling or streaking, just go over it again with your brush. Especially with white, because white is the lightest color. So if the color underneath, like in this particular project, is brown, you may have to put at least 3 coats on so you don't see any of that underneath it. Try to keep the brush even. And a second coat around the side. Oh, and the type of paint you should use is acrylic-based paint, which is the most common paint when crafting, especially this type of surface, this cardboard surface. Acrylic paint comes off very easily off the brushes and your hands with just regular soap and water. Unlike, let's say, an oil-based paint, which is a little bit more difficult to remove. If you find there's kind of like a bubbling around the edge, the top of the box, just smooth it out like so with your brush. Typically the paint takes about an hour or two to dry thoroughly. So now that we've finished painting our box, we're going to decorate it. Now, I want to show you something. This is a card, and the card itself it's embossed, so the flowers right here are raised, and then the flowers in the cone here are literally raised from the page, okay? So this is perfect for what we want to use it for. I'm going to put it right on the top of the box. It's going to look beautiful. So I'm going to start to cut around the edges, and then we will fasten it with hot glue on the top. What I like to do is first, you have to be careful though, because you don't want to cut off any of the detail. Just going to go around the edges first, bigger scissors, and then to get a little bit more of a finer cut, I will go around a second time with smaller scissors. Again, just be very careful not to cut anything on the design itself, just around. Okay. So we'll go in with smaller scissors, and now we'll get a little bit more detailed. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to at least follow the outline of the design. Lovely cutout of the flowers that were on the card. And we're going to fasten it, like I said, with some hot glue in the center of the box. So as you can see, that makes a very pretty accent on the top of the box because of the raised quality of the embellishment. Now we're going to add a ribbon, and I'm thinking maybe the ribbon would look good here. It almost wraps around the little paper cone on the flower detail. So yeah, let's put that there. Now we're going to trim the edges of the ribbon, making a dovetail cut. And this ribbon actually is wired ribbon, so if you want to give it a little buckle in the bow, which I always think makes it look a little extra pretty, you can just do so. And now for the final embellishment, we're going to actually mirror the paper cutout by using flowers. And we're going to place that right here. I think I like the way that it offsets from the paper flowers onto the bow. Actually, what we can do, let's see if we can do it this way. I'm going to try to run this stem through the bow knot, right here, like so. Okay. And I'll take, just to kind of cover the leaf stems, I'm going to put a little bit of glue there. And then I'm going to pull back this leaf to cover it. Just makes it look a little neater. Just take the stem and clip it like so. And then just to make sure that these flowers don't slide out, I'm going to take a little bit of glue, place it between the ribbon and the flower, and secure it. And there you have it. A very pretty Julie box for Mom on Mother's Day. So to get more ideas and inspiration, please go to jessica-tate.com.